I'm Shea Hess, and it's that time of year where there's a nip in the air and pumpkins on every doorstep. This week we are cooking with pumpkin. First, we take a road trip to Phillips Farm to learn about the different varieties. Then it's back to Franny's in Brooklyn where we enjoy pumpkin Italian style. Finally, we head home for a local pumpkin soup so simple and delicious you'll never look at a jack-o'-lantern the same way again. So let's hit the road. Our first stop is Phillips Farm, located in Milford, New Jersey. The farm has been in the family since the mid-1800s and sells their produce at New York City green markets year-round. We head to the pumpkin patch to chat with farmer Mark Phillips to get the lowdown on the wide world of pumpkins. So what are we standing on right now?
Okay, we're standing in a field of pumpkins for pick your own, and we have some small ones, they're sugar pumpkins, and we have larger ones over here, and they're just carving pumpkins.
And what are some other varieties of pumpkins? Well,
there's Hubbard Squash, cheese pumpkins, neck pumpkins. All the different winter squashes are really in the same family as pumpkins. They really grow the same way. They're viney, they grow right on the ground. The more space you have between plants, the bigger things get. So the really big pumpkins, they give a lot of space too.
And when are pumpkins in season?
Generally like the middle of September through the end of October.
If I take one of these pumpkins home, how long will it last me?
Well, if it's in good shape and it doesn't have any bad spots on it, you know, it could last about a month. Just sitting at room temperature.
Oh, a long time.
A long time.
So it can be ornamental, and then you can cook it.
Right.
So what constitutes a good pumpkin when I'm out in the patch?
I think if it's heavy,
that's heavy.
For the size, like dense,
yeah,
that's what you want. Nothing.
This is heavy for how little this is.
Nothing light. And I would say a good orange color.
A good orange color.
Yeah, like see this one has a little green on,
yeah,
so it's not completely ripe like this one is.
Okay.
Whatever the final color is going to be, whether it's a Hubbard squash or an orange pumpkin, you want that color.
Right. Now if I let this sit on my counter,
it'll ripen up like a tomato does.
What's the difference between picking up a pumpkin at my local supermarket and coming here and picking it myself?
Well, I mean, if you're concerned about where it comes from, where you go to your local supermarket, you never know where it was grown. I mean, if you get it from the farm, you know exactly where it's grown, and you can't get it any fresher than really picking it that day and taking it home.
Next stop is Franny's, a pioneering farm-to-table Brooklyn restaurant focusing on seasonal dishes. Chef John Adler keeps the menu both local and innovative, and he's here to show us that you don't have to be a seasoned chef to become a pumpkin pro. Pumpkin can seem a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, definitely.
Should I be worried about all of these pumpkins we have here?
There's no need to worry about pumpkin, period. I think that it's a really accessible ingredient because its flavor is very sort of friendly. It's sweet. It roasts well. Here's a cheese pumpkin, really great for roasting, also great for pies or purees. This is a straight up sugar pumpkin, so pumpkin pie, there you go. This is an orange Hubbard squash. I really like turning these into soup. I think that they have a really nice texture. Today we're gonna be making a crostino of pumpkin, toasted almonds, and sage with a little bit of ricotta cheese. It's a really nice way to sort of welcome the pumpkin season to the restaurant. We have raw orange Hokkaido squash, peeled and chopped up. So I just add a little bit of olive oil. I'm just gonna saute the squash here. So now my squash is starting to take on a tiny bit of color. And what I'm gonna do is add 1 clove of chopped garlic. One of the wonderful things about cooking pumpkin is how well it goes with what the French call beurre noisette, or brown butter. Brown butter is when the milk solids in the butter go brown. It has this really beautiful quality and sort of character with pumpkin, where it almost tastes as if the pumpkin and the brown butter had been missing each other and they're back together. Pumpkin and brown butter is about as wonderful as it gets. So the finishing touch is sage.
Oh my God, that smells so good.
It's now cooled down to room temperature. For 3 small pieces of toast, you're looking at about 4 spoonfuls of squash. So put them right into the mixing bowl. And then what I have here is just almonds that I've toasted and chopped. Squeeze in my lemons, and then just a little bit more salt, a few cracks of black pepper, just a little bit more olive oil. And what we have here is Salvatore Brooklyn ricotta.
Oh, that's my favorite ricotta.
Which is my favorite.
I could just sit and eat that with a spoon.
I have. Just a nice thin layer on the toast. I'm just gonna take 1 spoonful, go right over the top there. It's okay if some falls off the sides, you can fight for it later. But you just want a nice little pile, enough so you get all the flavors, but without there being so much that it ruins your outfit before the night's out. So there we go, a crostino of pumpkin, toasted almonds, sage, and ricotta.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Dig in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my God, that is so good. So as we can see, pumpkins aren't just for carving. Now this warty looking Hubbard squash here may not make a very good jack-o'-lantern, but it's gonna make one heck of a pumpkin soup. Here's what you need to do to prepare the squash. Start by cutting it in half. Scoop out the seeds and the stringiness, and that's a technical term. Drizzle with olive oil, liberally salted pepper, and put a little pat of butter in the center of each half. Roast the squash skin side down at 350 degrees Fahrenheit until tender, which is about an hour and a half. Okay, so while the pumpkin is cooling, I'm gonna get started on my soup. The first thing I'm gonna do is heat up a little bit of olive oil in this pot, and in the meantime, get started on my onion. The next thing I need to chop is my shallot. They don't have to be perfect because it's gonna be a blended soup. Give this a nice pinch of salt and a good crack of black pepper. The last thing I need to add to my aromatic vegetables, 2 cloves of garlic. Give it one last toss around and let the vegetables soften. Okay, so now that my pumpkin has cooled, I'm just gonna scoop it away from the flesh. See how easily it comes right away from the skin? You don't have to peel anything. All right, so I think this guy is scooped clean, and this looks like about 4 cups here, so I think I'm gonna save this half for pumpkin puree. All right, before I add this to my pot, I'm just going to break up some beautiful sage leaves into this onion mixture. Time for the pumpkin. Mash that down and mix it up. I'm just gonna add a little bit more salt. And all I need to do now is add the chicken stock. I'm using about 2 cups of chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock if you want to keep it vegetarian. So just bring this back up to a simmer, let it go for about 5 minutes or so, and then we're ready to blend it. Now it's time for the motorboat. This makes pureed soups really easy, but if you don't have one, just use your blender. So now that my soup is pureed, I need my finishing touch. 2 tablespoons of creme fraiche. Now if you don't have creme fraiche and you have some sour cream on hand, you can absolutely use sour cream for this. Stir that in and it's gonna give it just a luscious creaminess and a little bit of tang. All right, that should be perfect. And I think all pureed soup looks and tastes better with a dollop of creme fraiche and a sprinkling of fresh chives. So you see, just because it's Halloween doesn't mean pumpkins have to be scary. For this recipe and more, visit hungryyinbrooklyn.com. Stay hungry and see you next week. This is scary good.